Here's the question for you to start the day. Where does Jeff Sims rank amongst Big Ten quarterbacks?
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Gang DP here. Locked On Huskers. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. Greatly appreciate you everydayers. Thank you for what you do and for hanging out with me here on Locked On Huskers. You can put your comments down in the comment section. Greatly appreciate it. Thank the folks from FanDuel Sportsbook, America's Sportsbook, and the official sportsbook of the National Basketball Association. Make every moment more. FanDuel.com/lockedon for details. Have at it. The news out of Lincoln is there are now 3 quarterbacks of scholarship signatures on the roster at the University of Nebraska. 3. Heinrich Harburg is under scholarship. Chubba Purdy is under scholarship for the Huskers. And Jeff Sims, transfer from Georgia Tech, is on the list of scholarship quarterbacks for Nebraska. And that's a story because a week ago there were 6. And as we've been tracking throughout the course of this offseason, up until through spring camp and spring game, that we expected changes in the room. There was no way the most talented room in Matt Rule's coaching, college coaching history would stay intact. That's just asking too many good people to stay in submissive roles, and that wasn't going to happen. But a couple of things we'll deal with throughout the course of this thing is the people who left and then the people who stayed, and where does that put us? Right? Who are the people that left? What did we lose? Who are the people that stayed? What have we gained? And then what's next? What does that mean? How good are they? So that's what we'll cover through the course of this episode. Let's start with those who jumped into the transfer portal. And the recent news is that Casey Thompson, last year's starter, last year's leader and playmaker. This was a different team a year ago whenever Casey Thompson was on the field leading them. Whenever he was in the huddle, it was a different team. This was a team with a chance. They had a puncher's chance of always being in games and making plays. Casey Thompson, from a talent standpoint, I'll go on the line to say this. Casey Thompson is an NFL caliber quarterback. I'm not saying that he's going to go and win you Super Bowls, but if Casey Thompson ends up at an NFL camp, he does enough pro-level things above average that, I can see him in the league. May not be a starter, but I can see him in the league. And he was throwing the ball well enough that he could compete. As a matter of fact, if you had put him in the same room with the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten Conference a year ago, he was competitive and on the top half and top tier, maybe top third. Wherever Casey Thompson goes, he will go as a starter. Now, he's not going to schools that have those established leaders and greatness. We don't have to worry about that. But there are places that he can go, and no matter if it's Auburn, whether it's Florida, Washington State, Arizona, Virginia, North Carolina State. I mean, he's got options. Oklahoma State. He's got options. He will have options. And he needs one more good year, healed and healthy, and he'll reap the benefit of the work that he's put in. But his rehab, he's been strong with it. He's been safe with it. And now he's fully cleared. Wherever he ends up, they're going to get a great quarterback and a great young man. But he wasn't the only one who jumped in the transfer portal. Logan Smothers is one of the best athletes at quarterback in the Big Ten Conference. A sprinter, an actual sprinter. Elite. He got here And to think that he's been through several quarterbacks coaches. And his throwing motion when he was recruited here versus throwing motion when he played here are entirely different. His development, he had to go through several offensive coordinators. He had to go through several quarterback competitions, and he had to go through several injuries. There have been insane numbers of line combinations in the offensive line that played in front of him and a revolving door of running backs and receivers around him. I'm not sure we saw the best of Logan Smothers in Lincoln, Nebraska. Sadly so, I think there was so much more to that young man as a quarterback than we got to see. Somebody else, Division I program, will get a starting quarterback in Logan Smothers. And he's going to show out because that's the kind of athlete he is. We make no assertions to who we think where he's going to end up, but he has options. He had options before spring camp, and I'm sure his DMs are full today. That's two of the three, and I've talked on this podcast about Richard Torres because I thought from the underwear Olympics, Torres looks like the guy that would be the most impressive. Size, length, ball zips off his hands. He's got that rifleman's arrogance where he believes that he can fit anything in anywhere at any time. And most times did. Moved gracefully in the pocket. Quite a bit of a diamond dancer in the pocket that he can get to all four directions in a matter of steps and not lose his eyesight downfield. Also, without he doesn't drop the ball below the waist. He doesn't get ball lazy while he's in his drop. Not going to be involved in the strip sack game. But he too jumped into the transfer portal after spring camp and spring conversations with this coaching staff. We lost 3 competitors. You lost 3 leaders. If you had opened your summer camp with those 3 quarterbacks, I'd say you were in pretty good hands. We'll talk about the 3 that are remaining when we come back to Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang, welcome back to Locked On Huskers. I'm DP, and thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. In the previous portion of this, we were talking about the 3 quarterbacks who jumped into the transfer portal. Casey Thompson, Logan Smothers, Richard Torres. That leaves 3 quarterbacks remaining at the University of Nebraska. Jeff Sims, Heinrich Harburg, and Chubba Purdy. So I'll ask you, Husker fan, put your comments down in the comment box. You ready for this? Of the 3 that left and the 3 that remain, which are the better 3? What trio is the better 3? Most talented? Which 3 do you want on your roster? And there's no wrong answer. You can say, well, I'm a Husker fan. I'm going with the 3 we got. And I'm perfectly good with that. Who's the best quarterback of the bunch? Of those 6, who do you choose? Who would run your team? That's the question Husker Nation is dealing with today. Nobody can be happy that Casey Thompson is no longer part of this program. He was good for the program. But there is a belief, and whether it's based on previous resume or work done in the spring with the new coaching staff and with the new offensive line and with the new receivers and running backs against a new defense, there's a belief that Jeff Sims is the guy. That Jeff Sims has earned the right to lead this program. And Jeff Sims, let's be clear, has to lead this program. He can't just exist in the program. He's going to have to lead this program. What do we get in Jeff Sims? Rocket arm, superb athlete, boots on the ground, exceptional in the run game, physical, can take contact, but he's taken a bit of a beating as well. He is not without scar. That's a part of his story at Georgia Tech. Rocket arm, you know, listen, to say from an accuracy standpoint, he's the best of the bunch. I'm not sure that would be a statement of truth. But if Jeff Sims is your starter on day one, most people would feel pretty comfortable with that. He's experienced, high IQ in the game, an exceptional teammate from all reports, from all talking to the young men who are part of Huskers football. When they talk about Jeff Sims, they talk about him in such raving words. It's super complimentary, and it tells me a lot because they speak of his toughness. They speak of his awareness. And I've had more than one player called him present. Now, when your previous quarterbacks, and the last 3 quarterbacks from Nebraska, all got hurt. At some point, they all got hurt to various degrees. I believe it actually maybe the last 4. And the offensive line, while still being a place where people are starting to feel comfortable, and even if you believe this offensive line is going to be the best version of an offensive line in the last 5 years at Nebraska, you're still going to ask questions about play in the Big Ten, and that any quarterbacks, can take the wear and tear of putting your foot in the ground and taking pressure from Big Ten defenses and taking the hitting of Big Ten linebackers. How many of us feel really comfortable that Jeff Sims plays every Husker game this season? Because if he has to run around, which if you're telling me that you thought Casey was more accurate but Sims had a stronger arm, or vice versa, if you were telling me that Sims and Casey Thompson both were at the same level of pre-snap read and evaluation, and Husker fans got a dose last year of Casey Thompson's level of IQ and immersion in the playbook and in film study, and knowing more about Matt Rule's offense than Matt Rule knew about Casey Thompson when he first got to Nebraska. Casey Thompson broke down Matt Rule's offense day one and said, this is what he does, this is what he likes, and this is what that is. But Jeff Sims was the chosen one for Matt Rule. He chose and asked Jeff Sims, come to Nebraska and lead my quarterback room. And that's what he's done. And now the quarterback room is his. Can he stay healthy? Fingers crossed, knock on wood. If he stays healthy and plays a full season, Nebraska is in good hands. But if he doesn't, then what? Then what? And according to our followings in the spring game up to spring practice, most of the conversation was about Heinrich Haarberg rather than Chubba Purdy. Chubba has already started into Division I cities. Had Logan Smothers and Casey Thompson been healthy a year ago, he would have stayed behind them. There was question and competition in that reserve rule. Who was going to be the first quarterback off the bench? Would it be Chubba Purdy, as it was for a game? Or was it Logan Smothers, which it was another game? It flip-flopped. Would you rather have Logan Smothers on your bench or Chubba Purdy on your bench? Proven starter, great understanding of the game, better than advertised athlete. Can he be stable and strong enough to stay healthy? And then there's the young rifle. There's the young gun, Heinrich Haarberg. And all the raves of spring ball, all the raves of the big arm, all the raves of the athletic arrogance, all the raves in the spring about what was being seen on a day-to-day basis and throws being made, about the athletic ability and the physicality, that he's so talented and so strong and so gifted that he could play another position at the D1 Power 5 level. But that moves me to the question. For all of that being said, we still don't know. Can he win in the Big Ten Conference? That's the only thing that matters. When we talk about all 6 of these quarterbacks, I don't care about looks, skills, talent, development. We're at this point, Husker fans, where it has to just be about winning. That's it. And can these 3 quarterbacks win in the Big Ten Conference? We'll throw it a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about that here on Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang, DP here, Locked On Huskers. To close out this segment and get us through the weekend, I want to ask the question, can the Huskers win with these 3 quarterbacks? Are they good enough? Is Jeff Sims good enough to lead this team to 6 or more wins this season? Can he stay healthy enough to lead this team to 6 or more wins? That's question 1A and 1B. Heinrich Haarberg and Chubba Purdy aren't going to beat him out at summer camp. They're not going to outwork him over the course of the next few months. They're not going to get bigger, stronger, faster enough to change anything that's happened to this point, but they're played well enough to allow conversations that happen to say, hey, guess what? We're good with what we have. These 3 were good enough that Richard Torres, Logan Smothers, and Casey Thompson are no longer here. And I would hope and pray, and I guess we would think that if Matt Rule and Marcus Satterfield didn't think that Haarberg, Purdy, and Sims weren't good enough, they would have done something else. Now, I'm not sure that they're done. Jack Walsh sits on the walk-on. He may be elevated, but he can't be elevated until they lose some more roster spots, scholarship spots. They're currently still 5 players over the 85. So before you bring in anybody else, you've still got to cut down 5, and there's some spaces and places where that could happen. But can these 3 quarterbacks lead Nebraska to a 6+ win season? If Sims is healthy, it changes the odds in Nebraska's favor. If Sims is not healthy, all bets are off, and you've got your hands full again. Are you willing to go into a season knowing that Heinrich Haarberg, with his lack of experience, is one of your backups? Is Chubba Purdy a good enough backup to give you confidence and security and believe in this Husker team can get to 6+ wins without Jeff Sims? This offensive line is still the story, as is the case with most offensive teams and most good programs. The offensive line, its effectiveness, its ability to execute, and its health, its depth, play a big, huge part in their success. For Nebraska, does Nebraska have the offensive line to secure this group of quarterbacks? I think a big part of the transfer portal move is an announcement and a proclamation to who Nebraska is. If they're going to focus on the run game, if they're going to focus on keeping quarterbacks safe, you can do some of that with play call, but as we know in the Big Ten, hits happen. Having quarterbacks who are healthy and safe is important, but there's no way to bubble wrap your quarterback in the Big Ten Conference. There's no guarantee that Jeff Sims starts and completes all games on the schedule. So having a backup plan, whatever that backup plan is, it doesn't matter whether it's Haarberg or Purdy or somebody else. Nebraska fans will have their eyes to the quarterback position. Each of us will probably say at some point that we will miss Logan Smothers and Casey Thompson. They battled for Nebraska. They left body parts all over the Big Ten. Their skin is all over Memorial Stadium. Richard Torres has put in the work. U3 quarterbacks will be missed in Lincoln. And now the baton has been handed over, firmly, fully, and in public, to Jeff Sims, Heinrich Harburg, and Chopper Purdy. Our hope is that wins are attached. Thank you once again for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. We'll close with the 3 words that hopefully these 3 quarterbacks will lead us to. Go Big Red.